Hey everybody, it is time for a hydrangea update. It has been about 2 weeks since I took you around the property and showed you all the different hydrangeas that we're working with, and I also showed you kind of where I was at with some of those experiments that I was working on. Well, I'm going to bring you up to date on all that. I wanted to start here with these three varieties because these are three varieties that I'm particularly excited about because these are plants that we had just started last year. They were just little tiny shoots when we started them, and wow, they have really come a long way. We've been working on kind of mastering the techniques to make this happen for quite a few years now, and we're really seeing the results of some of the changes that we made and some of the efforts that we've been putting forth. So I'm going to tell you specifically about these plants because like this one here, this one's the Bobo, and the Bobo is known as one of the panicle varieties that always starts blooming really, really early. It's one of the first to flower, and it's unique in the panicle varieties because you can see that dense flower coverage, and I mean, just take a look. When you look at it from the top, that whole thing is just all flowers, and that's what it's known for. Whereas other varieties are going to be more shrubs and they have the flowers in them. This one is just looks like you picked a bouquet of stems and packed them all together. It's really unusual that way and absolutely stunning. And the other thing is it's a rather short one. It maxes out at about 3 feet, usually 2.5 to 3 feet tall. So it stays really low, which, you know, there's only a couple of panicle hydrangeas that stay that small. So it's nice for that reason, because also with that nice dense coverage on top, it's nice to be able to look down at it because you can really enjoy kind of how many flowers you see on here. So really loving the Bobo. This is one that we used to always have to order in because we just didn't grow it ourselves. And now that we're growing ourselves, we're so impressed that we've managed to be able to get them looking this great. We have a lot of them right now, and it's just lighting up the place. So happy that the Bobo is doing so well. And again, we wintered these over in their pots through our winter outdoors. So that's really exciting. Now we do have to do some winter prep with them, and we do have to kind of pack them in tight so that they're insulated properly and that type of thing. But wow, to think that we can do this with ours, that means when they're in the ground, they're going to be even happier and easier to grow. So, and that's the case with all the varieties that I'm showing you. We grew these ourselves. So if we can do it in pots, you can do it in your garden, in the ground. So we're excited about that. This one here is another new one. This one's been around for a while. This one's brand new. It's called the Let's Dance Arriba, and it's one of the more macrophylla types. So it's the big leaf hydrangea. And this one is surprising because it basically, when it started this spring, there is no old wood on this. And a lot of macrophyllas will grow either on just old wood or old wood and new wood. This one will grow on both old and new, but there was no old wood that survived the winter. So I thought, oh, this might be a bit of a disappointment, but look at it and look at the size of the flower heads. This is all new growth that started this year. And so there is a chance that as the plant matures, you're going to be able to get a little bit more old growth and flowers on old growth, which means it's going to flower even earlier, which I'm not complaining. This thing started blooming mid to late June, so that's pretty darn good. And but you're probably going to see the plant get a little bigger. It probably might not reach its maximum size because of our winters, but maybe it will. It's really hard to tell, but it does really well, and it is a zone 4. Whereas like a lot of your panicle varieties are going to be more zone 3. So it is a little bit more tender, but not really. We had no problems getting it through the winter. So we're happy about that. But look at the size of those flower heads. They're just enormous. And there's so many of them, and there's lots more coming. So we're really excited about the Let's Dance Arriba. And then this one here, this is the Quickfire Fab. Now the Quickfire hydrangea has been around for a while, but that's more of a lace cap one. It has a little different leaf, a little bit different growth habit than most of the other panicle varieties. This one looks a lot more like, say, a Limelight and some of the other panicle varieties, but look at how early it's blooming. It's way ahead of a lot of the other panicle hydrangeas, and the flowers are looking really good. They're starting out kind of lime. They should start out lime, go to white, and then the ones that we had last year turned really hot pink, really beautiful color. And so I'm excited about this one too, because it's nice to have a little bit earlier blooming hydrangeas around our area because our season is so short. So getting just even an extra 2 weeks really does make a difference. It extends our season by a lot. So let me take you around. I'm going to show you hydrangeas. I'm going to show you the status of some of those experiments that I'm doing, and just kind of give you a look around at all the different varieties that we have. So here's another look at that Bobo. You can see it almost has like a confetti baby's breath kind of feel along with regular flowers in it. So just beautiful. Bobo tends to start out lime, turn white, and it does get a little color, but not quite as much color as we're going to see in some of the other panicle varieties, the ones that would turn a really bright pink or a bright red. This one tends to just blush, and then so it's not as dynamic afterwards. But when you get this early bloom and this flower coverage, we're not complaining about that. Then the Let's Dance Arriba, I'm just so impressed with the flower size. And this is a variety that if we make the soil more acidic, we're going to see more purple rather than pink for those flowers. So that's great. And then when we look at the Quickfire, you can see it looks a lot like a traditional hydrangea, but the petals are a little bit more elongated, maybe a little bit more like a Zinfandel versus what we'd see on some of the like Limelights and some of the others. So let me kind of take you around and show you a couple others. Let's see, so we do have over here, this is some of the Little Lime Punch. So this is in the Limelight family. This one's blooming ahead of schedule simply because we had gotten it in. We do have some that we grew ourselves, but of course they're not going to be quite as far along. The whole Limelight family tends to be a later blooming type of hydrangea, but you can see how these flowers are compared to that Quickfire, and this one is going to get a really bright kind of pink red, kind of, they call it Hawaiian Punch red, so you can just imagine the color on that one. This is the Limelight Prime, so this is kind of the new upgrade. It may even become kind of the replacement for the old Limelight. It gets to be a good size, but it's more compact, blooms much earlier than the regular Limelight. I shouldn't say much earlier, but notably earlier, and then it also gets more color than the traditional Limelight. So Limelight Prime is kind of the new up-and-coming hydrangea in that family. Here's one of the little limes that's the little bit smaller than a regular Limelight. This is the Quickfire, so you can see the different type of flower head that the Quickfire has. It's still a panicle, but it has more of that lace cap flower, and these are just starting. There's going to be a lot more flower on this, but you kind of get a feel for how it is, and it also has a little bit different leaves. They're a little bit more, I'm going to say, crinkly, and the habit is very tight, so it's a very tidy hydrangea compared to some of the other ones. It just keeps its shape really, really well. These are some more of the Quickfire Fabs. And then over here, I'll show you, we've got, this one is the Invincible Ruby. So you can see, I love the color of them before they open. They're really nice, dark red. Then they open and they kind of have a little bit more of a blush inside. And then it's around the rim and the underside of the flowers still stay pretty dark. So it's a very unusual flower on that one. This is the good old Incredible. So you can see it gets that giant flower head. They don't tend to get as big when we have them in their nursery pots, but in your yard over, as they get more mature, the plants will just start filling in with big giant flower heads. Here's some of the Incredible Blush. So this is the pink version of that same plant. And then let's see, we have the Quickfires. Let's see, I have some little Quickfires over there. That's so these are the Quickfire Fabs. Those are the little Quickfires. There are more Bobos over here. I should show you some of those. Look at that. That is quite a display of Bobos. It looks just fantastic. So now I'm going to head out here past a couple of these hardy hibiscus. We're going to slip over here. We do have some Firelights over here, and the Firelight would be next in line for blooming, and these are really kind of coming into their own pretty quickly. They are right behind the Quickfire Fab. The Firelight gets a much darker reddish color than, say, a traditional Limelight or some of the other hydrangeas. It's a beautiful hydrangea. It's one of my favorites. I never really even knew much about it until we started having it in the driveway, and that was the one everybody was asking about. There is the Firelight Tidbit, and that's going to be the shorter version of it. So the Tidbit is a little bit later to bloom than the regular Firelight, but it's significantly shorter. So that's a nice addition to the lineup. Then we come out here. Let me give you an update on my hydrangea tunnel. It is looking really great. So you can see right here, the vanilla strawberries are starting to bloom, and these are coming in, really quick. Like they were just kind of little buds not too long ago, but the heat we've been having has really, opened up those blooms, and it is nice to just walk along these. So these are vanilla strawberry. And then as we come over here, we come into the Quickfires. So you can see again that, see what I mean by that tidy habit? It kind of stays nice and tight and compact. The flowers tend to stay up at the top, and they have that nice kind of lace cap panicle. It just looks really, really beautiful. And we can kind of keep walking underneath these until we get over here to the Limelights. And so the Limelights, these do get nice and bushy when it comes to the hydrangea trees. They have a nice form to them. They are a little bit later to bloom, and they are a little bit less color. They blush and they get a nice pink and red, but they can vary quite a bit versus some of the other varieties that are really consistently like hot pink or some of these other colors. And there's a couple more Quickfires there too. So now we can switch over to here. These we had brought in just because we needed some more. This is the Limelight Prime, but we didn't realize that ours were going to be kind of right behind these. So we actually probably didn't have to get these, but they're looking really great. Look at how many flowers are on there. And then these here are the Diamond Rouge. Love the Diamond Rouge because the flowers, both the petals, the flower heads, and the plant get really, really large. And you can see these are ones we wintered over, and they're already getting nice and big. Have some vanilla strawberries over there. I think these are either berry whites or over here. So those are getting ready. And then these are some more firelights. So this area here has gotten a little messy, partly because we've been selling a lot of hydrangeas and we've been moving hydrangeas. And then you add to that the fact that it's been so hot, we haven't been able to keep them organized. So some more Bobos, some more Quickfire Fabs. These are kind of the Limelight families over here. But this tree over here I wanted to show you because this is a variety that we don't carry as a bush. We only carry it as a tree. It's the Phantom variety. And what I like about it is it has a lot of the characteristics of the Limelight. However, it blooms a lot earlier. Color's really good on it. And it's just been an all-around really nice hydrangea tree. So thrilled about that one. And then I can come down here and take you over to the lace. So you can see when we're over here, more of those Invincible Rubies. I just love the color on that. It's just such a nice, rich color. This is the Invincible Lace. So this is that pollinator loving one that just a little bit different, has more of that wildflower look to them, more incredible blush. Let's see, what else can I show you? There's some mini mauvettes back over there. Just a lot to show you. And then we come back over here. Let me show you my experimental ones. So we're gonna head down over here. It's not much to look at just when they're sitting here, but when I explain them, it might help. So I had taken some firelights. So these are where the firelights are at right now. And I had trimmed them back so that there was just one stalk, hoping that I'm gonna get a giant flower head on it. Now, so far, this stem is quite a bit thicker than even, well, it's not too much thicker than the biggest stem here, but it is a little bit thicker. So I'm just kind of curious if all that energy going to that one flower head is going to make a bigger flower head. So far, this one seems to be catching up a little bit, so we'll see how that goes. Quickfire Fab is another kind of story. So you can see this one here, the flowering is farther ahead than this one over here, but we are seeing a much bigger stem, and this flower head here, it's actually multiple flower heads. We could potentially get a giant flower out of this one. So I'm curious to see how that one's gonna play out. We did it with the Limelight Prime. I'm not seeing, I'm seeing a difference in the stem size here, but I'm not sure, well, hey, who knows? I'm kind of curious because these flowering are a little bit behind, so it's not a real scientific method. I am seeing a difference in the Limelight though. So you can see, this is the regular Limelight, and I can kind of tell that's the size of the stems. These stems are a lot stronger, and they're actually already, they're a little bit ahead of that one with the flowering maybe. So just interesting to see. So I'm happy to see that. Oh, that reminds me, I'm gonna slip over to the other arborescens to show you. So with these Incredibles, these are the ones that were untrimmed. So you can kind of see they have those nice stems, but these over here, I had trimmed back just to kind of delay the bloom on them. And so you can see they're starting to produce new flowers. So you can see it's going to be behind those, but look at how dense and how many branches are on this one. So I'm going to get, in the end, probably a lot more flowers off of this one that I cut back right when I started seeing blooms compared to those. It's kind of, I don't know if it's one's better than the other, but it is nice to see how well those do. And that reminds me a little bit of reminding people not to be afraid of pruning. So I'm going to show you those hydrangeas that I had pruned over behind the barn as well. So here are the hydrangea trees that I had taken the hedger to about, what was it, just over 2 weeks ago. And you can see we're already seeing buds forming on these. So any branch that didn't get cut basically turned into bloom production. And so it's kind of interesting to see how that works because, you know, when you trim them back, it feels like you're never going to see another bloom. And already we have an entire kind of almost a field of hydrangea trees here with blooms on them. We could go through and cut these off too. That would encourage even more growth, but I think we're going to leave them for a little while and follow their progress a little bit more. And hopefully they're going to be really still strong enough branches that we don't have to worry about any flopping or breaking in the rain. So we'll see how these go. All of it's kind of an experiment. We're doing what we can to make this happen. So I'll keep you updated on those. And I'm going to show you, remember that one that broke right off? So there was one during the windstorm that snapped right off. There was not a bit of green on it. Well, look, it's actually starting to look like a proper tree. These branches are growing quite quickly. And remember I said, like, hey, we might even see flowers on it. Well, there's no sign of them yet, but looking at the size of that, it's pretty impressive to think that there was nothing there when this thing broke, and now it's just looking like a proper plant. So hats off to the resilience of these hydrangeas. And it also makes me want to remind you, like, don't worry if you do a little trimming. The hydrangeas are so hardy and durable. They generally can kind of survive the abuse that you can give them. So they're easy to grow in our area. At least the panicle varieties definitely are. So things are looking a lot better here in Greenhouse 7. These are the plants that were affected by the spider mites. We had a pretty bad infestation and we've been working really hard to keep them under control, but the spider mites just seem to be winning and winning and winning. And finally now, they really look different. We did see some new growth last week, but this week the new growth is really noticeable and there are no sign of the spider mites, so we may have taken them out. So we're happy to report that. You won't see any blossoms in this greenhouse simply because in addition to the neem oil, we did have to use a 3-in-1 spray just to try to fight those spider mites. So we cut off the blooms in an effort to try to reduce the impact on pollinators. So by not having blooms in here, hopefully it discourages the pollinators from coming in because spraying and other pesticides really do have a big impact on those pollinators. So we try to reduce the impact on those as much as possible. First, by using as little as possible and being more preventative. And when we do use them, we try to use them very responsibly. So that's our effort there. But let me show you that new growth. So you can see those leaves that were affected by the spider mites. They turned very bronze, very unattractive. And then over here, take a look. That's all new growth coming up from those. These leaves really aren't doing a whole lot for the plant right now. They're having a hard time catching light and turning into energy. So these new leaves are going to do all the work, and we're really happy to see that. So they're at different stages. These are actually pretty big. Meanwhile, some of these other ones are just starting. But we really do have a lot of new growth happening. And it's just nice to see because, I mean, when you look at those leaves before, I was really getting nervous when I wasn't seeing that new growth. But now that the new growth is arriving, it's a good sign that the plant is letting us know that it is ready and it is going to really take on all the new challenges coming its way, and it's going to look great, especially for next season. So happy to see this change up here. The last hydrangea I want to show you is this Endless Summer Original, and look at the beautiful blue flower on this. Absolutely stunning, and especially exciting because we did go through and snip off every single blossom on these hydrangeas in an effort to make sure that we gave the plant time to kind of develop its roots and develop its branches. So all of these flowers are kind of the second wave. So we had cut off all the originals and look at how they're coming out. And the interesting thing, we didn't expect them to come out blue because in general our water and our soil here is not very acidic. So we tend to, by default, on these kind of hydrangeas, just get pink. But these came out blue, so we're not sure what the story is, if it has to do with the plant the way it came in, or it has to do with maybe the soil that we had used might be more acidic, or maybe it's just some kind of hydrangea mystery. We're not really sure, but we love it. And we do treat some of our hydrangeas with aluminum sulfite so that we can get some blues and purples out of them versus the pinks that we tend to get from them if we don't. So it was just kind of nice to see these open up in this color. So hey, everybody, thanks for watching this update. I'll keep you posted on how they do. Maybe in another 2 weeks, we'll have even more exciting hydrangeas to show you. Like I said, every 2 weeks, this place looks completely different thanks to all this growth and all these flowers. So it's always a lot of fun.